Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, thieves have broken through shatterproof glass, stealing thousands of dollars worth of high-end watches at a Northwest jewellery store. The owners have been left heartbroken, with the business already suffering due to the coronavirus pandemic.
A brazen attack leaving a local business devastated. Thieves smashing through a window overnight, stealing $17,000 worth of watches.
It's a pretty sickening feeling. Kind of get a bit churned up inside. It's not the sort of news you want first thing in the morning to find that something like this has happened to you.
My Jewellers adapting to the new normal, reopening after weeks of forced closure due to the coronavirus restrictions.
It's been a sort of struggle with closing down for 4 weeks, and to come back and open up and have another blow to knock us around a bit. So it's, one thing after another. It'll be good, we'll get through it.
The store owners say they believe the offenders knew what they were after.
I think they were looking for something probably that they could resell quickly. Watches are always good for that, and they have targeted the window the furthest away from the street with the best product in it.
The owners installed this glass about 6 years ago and were told it's shatterproof, but the thieves still managed to break in without tripping the alarm system. Police believe the incident was a targeted attack and may be linked to other incidents in the area over the past month.
We're appealing to any members of the public, if you are approached by anybody selling a Citizen watch, or if you saw anything suspicious overnight in the Burnie CBD, if you could contact police on 131 444.
Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
Fuel retailers have hit out at a government threat to cap Tasmanian petrol prices, warning motorists it could backfire and actually force up rates at the bowser. The ultimatum has been labelled a last resort, but it's already raised significant concerns among outlets, both large and small.
An anxious time for many Tasmanians watching the dollars mount as they fill up at the bowser. Depending on where you shop, that price could look very different.
If you want to pay $1.30 for fuel, buy it for $1.30. But if you want to buy it for $1.10, buy it for $1.10. You can shop around.
In an attempt to drive competition and transparency, the government is introducing mandatory real-time fuel price reporting. And if that doesn't work, they've threatened to go one step further, hitting retailers with a cap on the price they charge motorists. But that's left retailers unimpressed.
Why choose fuel? The price of bread, the price of milk, it's always been set by the person that owns the site that's trying to make a living from it. And that's exactly what's happening in this instance.
Worried leaving the price of petrol in the hands of the government said it's a dangerous precedent.
You have a lovely day.
At smaller outlets like here at Hadspen, they say a price cap isn't the answer.
It's not a good idea. I mean, you shop around, simple.
Set it too low and smaller service stations will not be able to operate and local communities will lose their fuel. And you set it too high and everyone goes to the top price and you actually increase fuel prices for everybody.
But the government says it's a last resort if retailers don't follow the new rules.
To take it further into legislation will require further detailed work. And so it's really important that we take this first step. Hopefully that second step isn't needed.
I don't think anybody wants to see that sort of legislation come into play, but certainly it will ensure that fuel retailers take real-time fuel pricing seriously, and we hope it will bring real competition to the market.
That real-time pricing will be available through a new website and app by July. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
The Police Association is calling for a cut to nightclub hours, saying the coronavirus shutdown has revealed the extent of alcohol-fuelled violence in Tasmania. But the plan to shake up late-night licensing laws is being strongly rejected by venue owners. They're warning they're already at risk of financial ruin.
The Salamanca Strip has been quieter than ever. Saturday nights like this since the start of pandemic restrictions. The Police Association says it's led to less reported incidents in Hobart's waterfront area.
There's been a significant reduction in public place assaults, in assaults related to alcohol and drugs, and also just public disorder matters down there. A massive reduction.
releasing data that shows in the past 30 days, compared to this time last year, reported numbers of public place assaults involving alcohol or drugs reduced by 89%. Public order incidents decreased by 49%, and there was an 87% reduction in liquor infringement notices being handed out. The association is calling for change.
Any venues that have out-of-hours permits, we would ask for a review of the necessity for those and actually bring those out-of-hours permits, reduce them down from 5 back to say 2 a.m. or even slightly earlier.
To have restrictions placed on trading hours is just a kick in the guts that we don't need.
Pub Bank Group operates waterfront venues such as the Telegraph Hotel, Observatory Bar and Cargo. With most venues currently closed, Ian says his company is losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every month, warning these proposed trading restrictions could ruin the hospitality industry.
We may as well close. It's going to be a long time before the industry recovers, and to have the possibility of your trading hours restricted will never recover.
It does annoy the industry, I think, when police start making these sort of comments about closing down venues. They have been shut at the moment, so numbers are going to decline. The problem with that is it means that a lot of these things are then pushed back to private households where they can't actually monitor.
Some doctors are backing reduced hours, saying they've seen less alcohol-related presentations in recent weeks.
And they represent a danger to other patients in the emergency department as well as staff members. So to be avoiding operating under those sort of situations it's kind of heaven.
The government isn't ruling out changes, saying the Licensing Commission is currently in discussion with late-night stakeholders.
But it is a vital part of Hobart, and from the government's point of view, we would just like to see patrons enjoying that area and remaining safe.
Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmania News.
The so-called Hobart to Sydney air bridge has begun operations with the mission of ferrying out fresh Tasmanian exports. For more on this story, our reporter Michelle Wisby joins us live. Michelle, good evening. Now, the first flight took off today. It must be such a relief for some local producers.
Kim, it would be a relief, especially when logistics have been so difficult. Mass commercial flight cancellations have had a big impact because passenger jets also carry freight out. The first of the flights under the Airbridge program was loaded at Hobart Airport today, packed mostly with seafood, salmon, lobsters, abalone and oysters. The service will run twice a week to Sydney for the next 12 weeks, linking up to international flights from there. It's been funded by the state and the federal governments. Today's flight took off just after 12:30 this afternoon, and the government says the freight on board will reach destinations across Asia by tomorrow morning. And Kim, that quick turnaround is vital, so our produce arrives at those markets nice and fresh.
Great for our brand too. Thanks so much there, Michelle Wisby. Welcome back. The Master Builders Association has unveiled an ambitious plan to rebuild after the pandemic. It's set to create more than 2,000 jobs and boost Tasmania's economy by more than $500 million.
On a construction site in Hobart, these workers are some of the lucky ones in an industry nailed by COVID-19.
We've shed about 1,000 jobs. That's concerning.
But a towering new plan hopes to turn the tables.
It makes sense that construction plays a leading role in the recovery. We've done it before, we can do it again.
5 key policies released by the Master Builders Association. The predictions are appetising.
As many as 2,000 jobs. It could create $515 million of activity in the broader economy.
In addition to generating $270 million for the industry, one $50 million proposal targets the removal of potentially deadly asbestos from public buildings statewide. The industry's economic promise is not lost on the Premier. He's poised to announce the state's most aggressive construction program ever.
I think what we're asking for is that the recommendations that we put forward are considered.
In a boost for local councils, the government has also announced close to $150 million in interest-free loans.
It's going to be used in a number of areas, of course, and local government covers often in the significant areas, and whether it's upgrading of swimming pools or roads or bridges.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, new grants have started rolling out to Tasmanian artists of all genres, aimed at keeping the arts alive during the pandemic. The Van Diemen's Band is one of 61 individuals and organisations to share in a first round of funding. The band using the money for a new music project, making a film clip at Triabunna in collaboration with the Tasmanian Youth Orchestra.
We have no audience anymore, and one of the biggest impacts, apart from financial, is that it's very hard to be creative when you don't know when the next time you'll perform is going to be.
Other projects receiving funding include a cooking documentary and a project featuring the making of a blues and roots album. Queenstown has been highlighted on national television as part of Sunrise's A to Z tour of Australia.
Really stunning spot, Sam. Excited to showcase it this morning. Of course, a lot of people would know the Queenstown in New Zealand, but today is about the Aussie Queenstown.
Across the morning, the program featured historic sites like the Paragon Theatre, as well as shining a light on local retail stores.
Thank you to all of the friendly faces from Queenstown. We love you. I'm sure a lot of people now are adding you to their list of places they want to visit.
The Mountain Bike Club even checked in from one of the region's highest peaks. A Northern Tasmanian sports club is in the crosshairs tonight after being accused of breaking COVID-19 rules during training. In developing news, and with more on this, we're joined by our reporter Tom Johnson. Good evening, Tom. Now, the Launceston City Council says it has laid down the law.
Yes, good evening, Kim. The council has confirmed that it has addressed this matter with the club involved, and of course all local sports clubs are facing some very strict guidelines when it comes to any form of training during this time. The Launceston City Council has confirmed to 7 Tasmania that it is aware of a sports club that resumed training without the required COVID-19 plans in place, and that all users of council facilities have to implement COVID-19 safety and return to play plans before resuming activities on its sports grounds and facilities. Now, we have been in touch with one sports club accused of being at the centre of this breach, who we won't be naming. However, nothing more has been confirmed from those discussions. What is clear though, Kim, is that local sport is certainly being watched very closely as we gradually return to normal.
Motorsport legends are backing the move to bring 2 rounds of a revised racing series to Tasmania. Supercars champion Garth Tander says the new Australian Racing Group roster will give him his first taste of Baskerville. Local touring car legend John Bowe is hoping to take another spin around his home circuits.
In the mid-2000s, Simmons Plains was Garth Tander's for the taking.
And he gets another round victory. Drive GT, brilliant mate, 2 in a row for Tandy.
The Western Australian won back-to-back in 05 and 06, and with the announcement Tasmania has snatched part of the next touring car racing series, Tander will be back for more.
Simmons Plains highlight for me was back in 2005. We put the car in pole position in the V8 Supercars and won all 3 races. I clean swept the weekend. It was a real highlight, first time I'd ever clean swept a race weekend, so Tassie a very special place in my heart.
The touring cars are among a number of motorsport series heading to Simmons Plains and Baskerville in January. The local tracks are replacing 2 mainland rounds after the roster was revised due to the pandemic. It'll be Tander's first time racing at Baskerville.
There's not many of them left in Australia I haven't raced at, so that'll be a new challenge, a unique challenge.
Someone who knows it far better, John Bowe, is hoping to be racing there too.
It's an awesome track and basically unknown by most mainland people, so they're going to just love it.
The 2-time Bathurst winner held the Baskerville lap record for 36 years. He says the motorsport coup is terrific for local fans.
Full marks to the people that made it happen.
And even after 5 decades of racing, Bowe can't wait to be unleashed back onto the track.
I've been driving myself mad, and anybody else that knows me, I've been driving them mad as well. So, like I love motor racing. That's why I've been doing it since I was a kid.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Hockey Tasmania says plans to eliminate $1 million of debt are on hold as efforts shift to rebuilding the grassroots game. Releasing its 2019 annual report today, the local body says it was on track to wipe out a large chunk of its debt until the pandemic stopped revenue from coming in. But Hockey Tasmania says it remains financially sustainable.
There's a high sense of frustration on my part and the board's part because we got ourselves into a very strong financial position for the first time in a long time. Our focus for the remainder of this year is certainly on grassroots hockey, getting our members back at our centres and playing our sport again. That's our single main focus at the moment.
Hockey Tasmania is also determined to see the Tigers return to the National Hockey One League next year. Financially, the team broke even in its inaugural season. State League Netball is set to resume from July 24. The season had been put on hold after just 2 rounds of play, while community competitions are expected to restart 2 weeks earlier from July 13. Netball Tasmania says it's waiving member and licence fees for clubs this year.
Good evening. Another particularly cold night over the Derwent Valley last night. Ouse -4 to a top today of 7. Hobart, Burnie and Devonport all 15 degrees, a top of 16 in Launceston. Campania 18 today. Friendly Beaches, Grove, Strawn and the Island 17. Smithton 16, Low Head and St Helens 15 degrees. A few showers today over the north with cloudy conditions over most of Tasmania. More to come though as we look at the bigger picture. The cloud over our region is caused by an oncoming cold front, and behind that frontal band is a cold pool of unstable air. Another band of cloud extends over central Australia. The front crosses the state tomorrow night as an area of low pressure sits south of the Bight, a large high over the mainland. Winds 10 to 20 knot nor'westerlies, tending westerly and increasing to 20 to 30 knots over the west and south in the evening. Swells to 3.5 metres in western waters. Strong wind warning, that's from Tasman Island to Sandy Cape. Hobart expecting 16 and partly cloudy tomorrow. Early fog and a possible shower for Cygnet, 16 the high, 16 the top also for New Norfolk. Launceston, a morning shower, 16 the high, 16 for Devonport, partly cloudy for Campbelltown, 15 the maximum. Burnie, a top of 16 with showers clearing, a showery day for Strawn, 14 the top, and Smithton shower early, 15 degrees. 17 the top for St Helens, bit of cloud about, Swansea the same, and 16 the high for Fingal, bit of fog to start the day. Friday now, showers over the north, west and far south, easing in the afternoon. Hobart and St Helens fine and 18. Fine on Saturday apart from a light shower over the north and west, and on Sunday showers all over, easing and contracting to the north and west late morning. Showers and a late storm for Perth, a possible shower for Adelaide, partly cloudy in Melbourne and Canberra, mostly sunny in Sydney, 25 and fine in Brisbane. Cloudy conditions at the moment. Hobart currently 10 degrees, cloudy over Launceston, 13 at the moment, mostly cloudy for Devonport and 13 degrees. And Kim, I've been in denial, but I've finally realised I won't be able to travel this year. So I explained to my suitcases that we won't be going on holidays, and now I'm dealing with emotional baggage.
An oldie but a goodie, but we'll pay that tonight. Thank you, Murph. Before we leave you tonight, a baby wombat has tugged at the heartstrings looking for a cuddle. The young marsupial named Robbie became tired after a big day and dozed off into the arms of staff at Wings Wildlife Park in the northwest. Robbie looks very comfortable. That's your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us. Good night.